As we are today speaking about energy efficiency, we're not only speaking about energy efficiency in the port, but we're speaking as well about energy efficiency during the sailing. And now we have our overseas friend, and let's see if Bjorn Bertoft is already connected. Yes, hello. We don't hear you, Bjorn. Let's try again.
Okay.
Yes, now we can hear you.
Let's see, now?
Yes,
You hear me
now everything,
Okay.
works very well. So,
Okay.
as we've been speaking here now about energy efficiency in the ports, but now let's see how it goes about being very effective on the water and using the technologies that the sea, the sun, and the water is giving us. Bjorn, the floor is yours. The boat is yours, not the floor.
Okay.
You don't have the floor
Yes,
there.
I'm actually on my boat, and thank you so much. And I'm delighted and honored to be invited to this event. And I've been sailing for the sustainability issue since 2018, when I bumped into Julia and her colleagues at a boat fair in Stockholm. And I was renovating my boat, and the idea was to give it to my kids who grew up on the boat, and I couldn't stand the thought of putting a new diesel engine into this renovating object. So it turned out to be an electric engine, and that's how this project started, actually. And that was in, like I said, 2018. It was a very early phase of electric engines. And I think I was more or less the first one buying this pod engine, which is looks like a S, like a normal little S thing underneath the hull, and like you have on a diesel engine, but there's nothing inside the boat except the batteries. So everything that comes from the engine is a cable up to the batteries. So the room, I can show you here, this room here and that room over there was an engine and a tank, and now since 2018, they're just empty, dry, no grease, no smell, no oil, no filters, nothing. It's just a cable up to the batteries. So that is a super advantage on a small boat, and my boat is not very big. I will show you. I can turn around the camera maybe. Yeah. I am in Sandefjord in Norway right now. And you see this is it is built, designed in the 70s. It's an archipelago camper racer boat. And we're now connected. You can see a green cable there going up here, quite common, to this wonder pole here, which saves our lives a lot, as we don't have any fossil fuel on board at all, not any tank for any engine or not for cooking or anything else, actually. And this happens to be a private dock in Sandefjord, Norway. They built it last year, and they put on electric poles here. And listen to your presentation, just recent, the one before me, about serving yourself with electric power from sun or wind. Sounds very interesting, but also to serve us electric sailors and electric motorboaters, I think is something that's going to come up as an sort of selling point. I would be happy to sail a few extra nautical miles if I knew that electricity that was delivered on your docks was from solar power or wind power. So that could be some marketing extras to use. And what I've noticed sailing now for 5 years, like 7,000 nautical miles with young people and sustainability issues. I will show you around on the boat what we do else. But the charging of solar ourselves, we can use sailing. We can charge the engine by using the propeller for hydrogeneration. So having a sailboat is an advantage. So when we are moving through water, we can use the propeller for generating electricity back to the battery. It doesn't work as good as it sounds because it takes time. You need pretty even winds. You need pretty long distance to make a lot of percentages into the battery back. But it works, and I believe that the technique is getting better and better, and more competitors are challenged by that idea. And I have seen new brands and new technologies. For instance, you have this sort of extra tiller with the propeller on it, and you can generate electricity with that for sailboats. And the technique is not new. It's just that the advancement of GPS and speed and the new batteries and so forth, that's a new technology, and there's a lot to do still. When I started in 2018 from Oslo, I had the highest ranked female, an admiral from the Norwegian Navy plugging my electric charger as a symbolic start for the trip. And then it didn't show the hydrogeneration that I was going to use in order to be self-sufficient didn't work as well. And the brand Torqeedo, who is manufacturing my engine, have been world leaders in electric outboard engines for years, and now they are doing a lot of inboard engines. The CEO, he was a little ashamed when I came back and said that it didn't really work. And he said, maybe we sold this engine to you 1 year too early, Bjorn. So he was a little ashamed of that. But so I've been a test pilot for 5 years, testing different engines and different methods for hydrogeneration. But having an electric engine, if you are sailors out there, please, it is a good thing, first of all, but it's also very nice. It's silent. You never need to visit a gas station. You can charge at marinas. People think you are a wonderful, great sailor because when you take down the sails, go into the marina, you can still use the engine. Nobody hears it. They think, wow, that guy can really sail in deep into the marina. So it's fun. And the silence is beautiful. And then we have a lot of other things. The electric engine was sort of the start of this project. And then it grew to more sustainable issues like how do we clean stuff? What do we have under the hull? You know, I'm based in Stockholm, and Baltic Sea, as you know, is pretty damaged by boat paint and farming and a lot of issues that are affecting the water. And it takes 40 years for the water to flow through the Baltic Sea and out. And we are about 80 to 100 million people living around, dumping things into rivers and on the ground and so forth. So I tested a toxic-free boat coating from Finland, Sea Boost. And it's a thing, you do it once and then you can have it for like 5-6 years. I've sailed with it for 5 years, and I need to wash the boat by hand or with brushes. That is complicated to sometimes, and you need a little swimming and so forth. But I know that there's no toxic going into the water. That is a good feeling. And a few days swimming around or brushing compared to 5-6 years of good conscience is a good trade. And some of these some of the coatings for boats are of a silicone kind, and they're sort of leaving little particles. They are actually contributing to this microplastic population in the waters. The newer, better kind, like Sea Boost, the surface is more like glass. And it's a little bit more complicated to get it on the boat, but it is like glass, and you can wipe it off with your hand and with a cloth, and at the winter time when I lift the boat, I just flush it off and that's it. And I don't need to paint it every year. So it's a good thing. But that also raised the interest for other issues. Like I said, how do we clean ourselves? What is in our dishwashing stuff, and how do we clean the boat? And then we jumped into the zero waste issue. How do we live on this boat? And I happened to I invited young people to sail because I felt that this project should be dedicated to the next generations. My generation, and some of us probably have been contributing to this climate situation that we have today, and we owe to the new ones to change our lifestyle now and just pay for it, simply. That's my opinion. And so we started this zero waste issue as well. And I have a lot of things to show you. So I'll turn on the camera so you don't have to look at me. That's probably nicer. We can start with, this is a little non-organized order, so please bear with me. But for instance, cooking. At the back of the boat here, I have this, it's a solar oven. Works not very good when it's raining or at night, but at daytime like today, it works really, really good. And it's using nothing. And this doesn't charge any batteries. It's only a reflector. And you can see maybe some smoke coming out. And I can show you. There's a little... I have to put down the camera. Sorry about that. But here's just for your sake, a grilled carrot. And in order to keep the zero waste promise that we have in our policy, we buy stuff from local farmers. And I don't remember if you have seen a carrot that's not perfect, but buying them direct from the farms means no packaging. We put it in our own bags, and they look like carrot do from the start, not perfect shaped, which is kind of nice, especially if you have kids. They love it. So solar ovens, it gets about 150 to 200 degrees inside of that glass tube. It's a vacuum. I can touch it. It's not hot. It's a double tube with vacuum and a copper film inside. And yeah, in this day today, I can boil water, I can bake bread, I can do almost anything. And over here is a bigger size. It's a little more complicated to carry around, but this whole tray here makes a good chicken, whatever, casserole or curry for 4 or 5 people easily. And there's also smaller versions. I use the small versions for my morning coffee sometimes, and it's kind of a nice discovery to not just push a button getting your coffee as we have been used to. Now the habit is wake up, get the water, fill up the solar oven, put it on the tiller, go back to sleep for 30 minutes, and then the coffee is ready. Or you don't have to go back to sleep, you can do something else. But the time living with nature instead of against nature has been really rewarding for me and the crew that has been following this sailing adventure all those years. And here's some other stuff that we use in order to save waste and energy. For instance, I can start cleaning. I was talking about cleaning. Bicarbonate, baking soda. That's the only thing we use, actually. And we have, what's it to call in English? Vinegar. Clear vinegar. We put lemon peel into that vinegar and mix it with some baking soda, and we use it for indoor, outdoor, hull, whatever dirt is coming on the boat. And for ourselves, we don't use plastic, as little plastic as we possibly can, and we have banned single-use plastics. So we try to get stainless steel stuff and like a bar soap. You know that soap in the bottle is mostly water. They are distributing water and we're carrying around water for no use actually. These soaps that we use are either handmade or fabricated, but it's all natural. It's olive oil or coconut oil and some other natural ingredients. Here is, for instance, have you heard of loofah? This is a cucumber actually, and my partner has grown it, and it's the inside of the cucumber, and it's perfect as a dishcloth. This has been used for 3 months. It's a bar soap thing in there, and we don't need any plastic brushes that drops microplastics every time you do the dishes. This is a paper tube with sun protection that doesn't destroy the water. Or I mean, for instance, on Hawaii they have banned not all, but the toxic sunscreens nowadays because they destroy the corals. I bought this is a shaving thing, razor, and it's 50, 60 euros. Seems expensive, but I used it for 5 years now, and I never buy single-use shaver razors any longer. So that's a saving thing. We use plastic jars for pepper or salt or whatever. We don't say this with judgments. We're just testing how is it to live without plastic and single-use plastic in particular. So we're trying that, and it has been a wonderful journey because it's so simple and it's pretty cheap. We don't buy new stuff all the time. The phones, I mean, we can charge the engine with solar a little bit, but phones and laptops need charged, and these ones we have been testing during the seasons, different kinds with battery banks with little solar panels and so forth, and they work great. Not as good as home in the electric socket in the bedroom, but they work great out on the sea. And in the back, also a thing we've been testing is our compost garden. So you can see parsley, there's some mint, these are actually strawberries. And these are compost containers. So we put all the food scraps in it, and then we have a little soil around it that is through holes in this tube. So the microorganisms are running back and forth between our food scraps and the soil, and it grows like crazy. I've been gone home for a week, and this is chickweeds. They just boom. They love it back here, and it's okay to sail with. People look at us with skeptic eyes, but a lot of people seem to like it actually. And this looks like a little communication center here. We have been we're sending data to the manufacturer of the electric engine, sending back to the lab in Munich how we have been charging with and the consumption and so forth. So the measuring, as you mentioned earlier, is of course very important for us as well. And we are often struck by distance anxiety with the electric engine because we don't have as long range as with the diesel, of course. And with the first, you have this panel from Torqeedo. You can see now I have charged 99%. You can follow how many nautical miles we have left, and we can raise the speed or lower the speed in order to get where we are going. I can mention an example while you look at this beautiful view. My first engine, I could go 5 knots for 1 hour. And if I lowered the speed to 3 knots, I could go for 7 hours. And if I lower to 2 knots, I could go for 24 hours. And that's a lot of difference in distance. So being in a rush and having an electric engine is a bad idea. But if you need it for safety reasons, it works. And now I'm going to go in, show you the batteries. You can see this is not a luxury boat. There's no captain cabins, there's no privacy. We have sort of everything in the same room, but we can sleep 5 people here, and the batteries are here. So I can get them up. And they happily fit. And I'm not very good at volt, ampere, and watts. I should be, being a test pilot for electric engines, but so you can probably read more out of this than I do. But these batteries are made for boats. They are quite expensive, and I'm happy to test them because if I would buy them myself, I would probably only buy one of them at this point. But I would save money for buying 2 because it means a lot in terms of range. And the new engine I have now, it's a bigger engine for boats up to 10 tons. So it is too big for this boat, but I can go 3 hours in 5 knots and days if I go in 2 knots, or at least 24 hours. So there are a lot of things that can be used in order to live a sort of easier and actually more sustainable life on the water. And these things that we use, they don't have to belong on a boat. We can do it every day in our normal life too. For instance, all this stuff. We don't need all this plastic and single-use items that we just buy by nature or by habit. And we tested it really, really hard in 2020. We were 3 to 6 people on board for 2.5 months. We didn't buy anything with plastic wrapping or anything like that, but some things we couldn't avoid. It sort of snuck up on us. For instance, we went to a sheep farmer or a lamb farmer on Gotland, and we wanted lamb meat so badly, so we had to buy it in a vacuum bag because for the authorities, she could not sell it without the wrapping. So that plastic bag turned into a zero waste failure, and we collected it, and we collected all our failures for 2.5 months, and it turned into one little plastic bag with all these people and all this time. Normally, we have a plastic bag full of garbage, one a day when I've been sailing for the last 40 years. But we recycle the glass, the aluminum, and metal. I mean, paper, of course. And that is another thing I would encourage you people who are in the business of marinas, is to really step up in terms of recycling bins and service for boats and also motorhomes. There's a lot of motorhomes now teaming up with us boat people on all the marinas, and some are really good, some are really behind in the collecting or the possibility to get rid of trash or recycling trash. The composting thing is, yes, it is pretty extreme maybe, but if we could collect our food scraps and dump it at the marina in some kind of compost department or bin, that would be great too. And we have, maybe you saw indoors, we have this porta potty in the middle, and that is an issue that we can't avoid. And due to Swedish law nowadays, you're not allowed to dump any human waste into the water. And if you have a big boat, normally you have a toilet and a tank, and the network of pump stations is, yes, it is building or it's increasing and it's more accessible, but still you have to sail maybe 5 or 10 extra nautical miles just to get to a pump station. And I guess that still some people avoid those extra miles and just dump it anyway, which is bad. So the building out of pump stations is very good, but we don't have anything that can be pumped. So we have to, and I'm not going to go into detail, but we collect it in separate tanks. The wet stuff and the hard stuff, just to say it. And then we dig it down on islands. And we don't use any chemicals. We use vinegar, some oil that we have flavored ourselves with good lavendel, for instance. And when we got this porta potty, when we lifted the lid, there was a sticker on the inside of the lid, and there was 10 recommended different liquids for cleaning the porta potty. And the 11th article was their own toilet paper. And they claimed that all these 10 cleaning products, probably pretty toxic, were necessary to use for different parts of a toilet. It's ridiculous. So we really need to avoid buying into those habits that we have been so used to for decades now. That's my opinion. And then now I remember that I forgot something. Talking about, you have to tell me if my time is out. I can go on for days.
Yeah, we are close to. I was just already trying to give you a sign. So
okay, sorry.
the last but not least.
This is energy. This is energy saving. These are Wonder bags, and they're used for cooking. There's nothing in it now, but it's an old African technique. It's sort of an isolating pillow. We get things boiled up to boiling temperature, rice or beans or chicken or whatever, and then we just put it in there and leave it for 6 to 8 hours, and it takes care of itself. There's no more fuel needed to cook that meal. It's just in the boat waiting for us to have dinner. So,
lovely.
Yes.
Lovely. Thank you, Bjorn. Thank you.
Sorry.
I don't know what about the others, but for me, when I'm thinking about Bjorn, the main word that comes into my mind is inspiration. And from today's presentation, I would say that for me, that was really inspiring when Bjorn said that you don't really understand what it's written on those batteries, but you are using them. And maybe that's a kind of a message that, it might sound a bit maybe professional or complicated, but in a way we all can make a little effort and then use it more and more, and to bring really these energy efficient instruments into our everyday life. Bjorn, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.